boys and girls. I'm here to present Resque. By the way, I'm Erol Fornoles. I'm a Ruby on Rails developer at Erol's. I just started December, and so far it's been a good experience. So first of all, a brief intro to Resque. Here's the Meetup address of Resque. So what is Resque? Resque is a Redis library for the creation of background jobs and processing them into multiple queues. So it's pronounced as Resque, but it's actually spelled as with a Q. So first, before we dive into Resque, what is Redis? Redis is an open source advanced key value store. So unlike all the other databases, it just stores keys and values. And it is used by Resque to manage its queues. So here are the advantages of Redis. These are primarily the reasons why Resque chose Redis as their messaging queue. Well, for one, if you're choosing a queue, your operations have to be fast. They have to be atomic and they have to be fast. Redis supports atomic O1 disk push and pop. Again, fast. It has a reliable Ruby client. It's persistent, and it also has master-slave replication. So why do we need Resque? Or for that matter, why do we need to process jobs on the background? So proper use of background job queuing and processing is a time-tested scalability strategy. Delegation of background tasks keys the web framework to do what it actually needs to do. Basically your web framework, Rails for this matter, doesn't really have to be the one to process very time-consuming operations. It has to be more concerned on basically serving web pages to the end user. And it can also maximize the use of resources. There's basically some tasks that are simply done better asynchronously and in parallel. And it's cool. So who uses Resque? And who basically implemented Resque? So I think we're all familiar with the logo here. Has anyone not familiar with system? Okay. So it's GitHub. They have a blog wherein they introduce Resque and they detail why they built Resque. Before they tried using many different background queuing libraries, stated there, and they found it to be lacking on some fronts. GitHub is most of the processing in GitHub is 50% done in the background. So basically, if you're making repositories, you're making the graph commits, the network commits. Most of them are done in the background. And GitHub needs a background job system as serious as the brain. Okay, so why Resque? Background jobs can be any Ruby class. For this matter, unlike Blade jobs and some of the other queuing libraries, Resque does not depend on active record. It could be as simple as a very small Ruby class. Then workers which process background jobs, they can be distributed to multiple machines or multiple servers. And workers, as I said before, number one, they have very little dependency and can be built to be fast and lightweight. So what we need, well, we need a Redis server for one. We need the Resque gem. We need to create Ruby classes to process the background jobs. And we need a rate task to run workers. Actually, it doesn't have to be a rate task. It could be a Tor module to run the workers. And an app that creates the background jobs, of course. So what are background jobs? They can be any Ruby class that responds to perform. So this is what a background job looks like. So you just need to have a class method called perform, and which could accept parameters and do something with it. And what are workers? So they are rate tasks that run forever, or almost forever, or at least ideal forever. So this is basically the pseudo code of a rescue worker. Needs to start, and then you do to it. If there's a job to be performed, you perform it. Otherwise, the worker sleeps for a moment. You can set this to via the rescue configuration, and then if something happens to the worker, it needs to properly shut down. So here's a sample of the rate file that creates a worker. So first, you need to require the actual class that defines the job. Then you need to require rescue. And for one, if you're setting up a worker that needs or a worker that has to be separate from the Redis server, you need to require a rescue task and then set up the Redis server. Then, so here's the app. It's a very small app that makes a background job. So you require rescue. You require the actual class of the job. And then you basically call rescue that include with the class of the worker or the job and the parameters linked to it. It must, I have to or clarify that you cannot pass actual active record instances as parameters. They have to be very primitive types. The reason for that is because you want to avoid crossing stale model or active record instances when the job actually fires. There could be an instance wherein your active record model could already be stale or could already have not updated data when the job actually fires, and that's not a good thing. And then, once you fire and queue, the next line of code runs immediately. So worker infrastructure, another thing with Resque, it has a parent-child architecture. So it's not just one thread running the actual job. So there's basically two threads. And if you have some background on Linux system management, you can actually do a PS and look at the actual threads. So here we have basically the parent thread, which is 92099, and the child thread, which is 92102. Another good thing about Resque is it advertises the time the worker began processing. So you can use morning or God to kill stale workers. And then Resque workers respond to a few different signals. You can basically quit. When you send a quit signal to Resque, it doesn't kill the parent; it just kills the child. So your parent thread immediately process new jobs. You could also send the the turn signal, which would immediately kill the child. Then there's user 1 and user 2, and then ZONT. So that's the end of the slide, and I have a very trivial application that uses Resque. It's a gem called Manga Squirrel. It basically downloads manga from a certain site. Shameless plug. Okay.
Makikita naman sila sa ads eh. Pero wala silang ads dyan.
Okay, so as I said before, your workers doesn't necessarily have to be like tasks. It could be a Tor module. And here's an example of code that runs the workers via Tor. So this one. An example of the job. I could rename it from. So basically what Manga Squirrel does is when you download on the net, the problem with downloading it sequentially is you're wasting resources in terms of bandwidth. Most downloaders try to download information in parallel. It could be in threads of 5, it could be in threads of 10, but you can't do just a simple fork for every link that you come upon, because if you do a fork, you basically flood the server with threads. So what this does with Resque is it's the one that it lets Resque handle the background job process. So that's it.